that you must fulfill. You'll find lots of loving people, people who welcome you.
Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dear brothers and sisters in the Dharma, we hope that you have been well and happy and meditating a lot during this COVID period. Today, we are very fortunate to have Sister Rachel Lim. She will be talking about the shades of anger. Sister Rachel has been volunteering as a Dharma class teacher, helping students discover the relevance of the Buddha's teachings in daily life. Sis Rachel was working in the human resource field with MNCs prior to stepping down from her corporate position. But first, Ajahn Brahm will be leading us on a 10-minute guided meditation.
With your eyes closed, bring your attention first of all to your body sitting here. And please relax your body. How do you relax your body? By being mindful of your body and being kind to it. What do I mean? We can start with your legs. Ask your legs. Legs, how do you feel right now? And keep asking that question until you get an answer. Just imagining your legs to be like separate living beings. When you ask a question of your legs with respect, sometimes my legs tell me that they need to be adjusted, moved. I listen, which means the mindfulness is starting to work. It's not just being aware, it's getting to know. And the kindness means that I change my posture slightly. I often spend a long time with my body when I'm meditating, at the very beginning, to make sure it's all fine. But we've only got a few minutes, so then go to your bottom your buttocks. I say that because sometimes people's buttocks get sore sitting on a cushion or on a chair. So we want to relax to the max so we're comfortable. It's not just indulgence. This is simple kindness to your own body. And then move up to your back. Just imagining your back to need a big stretch. The reason I do that, I've just been living in forests all my life, and even in Australia, you see even kangaroos do stretching exercises. These are native wild kangaroos. So I do a big stretch of my body at the beginning and just feel all these chemicals going into my body, just painkillers, immune enhancers, until my back, it feels really great. And then I relax the muscles of my shoulders. Spend some time on my shoulders because they often have a lot of aches on them. I imagine those muscles being pulled apart by two invisible demons, actually four, two on each side. And I let go. Let go of stretching. Let go of stress. Allowing those muscles just to be. And they respond. My awareness of those muscles, you can relax them almost at any time. Oh, that's great. And then I look at my hands. Where are the hands supposed to be? It doesn't really matter. You put your hands in a place which you feel to be comfortable. And ask your hands, like your hands were separate entities from you. Hands, how do you feel? Do you need to be moved? And then you can move back up to your shoulders and neck to make sure that the head is well balanced on top of the neck. Not too far to the left, not too far to the right, not too far forward or too far back. Nicely balanced. And even in your throat, if you have any tickly sensation like I have now, I do have allergies. It's part of what I inherited from my father who had asthma. Just be kind to your throat. Find ways of relaxing it. And then move up to your face. In your face there's many muscles which stretch, scrunch up because of your emotions. And by relaxing the muscles on your face, you can also relax some of the emotions. So I feel the muscles around my eyes. And I loosen them all. And around my mouth too. And once I've just done a quick scan of my body, I next become aware of my body just as one unit, just one whole. The whole purpose is to be aware and kind enough to relax everything. Because I've been doing this for years, I notice that when I deliberately relax my body with mindfulness and kindness, I get this delightful feeling. The delight of having a body which is much more at peace than usual. It's the same delight which people pay a lot of money for, to go to some beach in Bali on a recliner, or to have a body massage, or to go in a hot tub. I do that just automatically mindful and kind. And I enjoy that delightful feeling. Delight is part of meditation. I'll just stay there for a few seconds. And then we go deeper inside to our mind. How peaceful are you, or how agitated are you? There's something which I hope you've heard me teach about the peace-ometer, like a thermometer, speedometer. How peaceful are you? Given a number from 1 to 10. 10 is agitated, 1 is very peaceful. What makes that reading go up to more disturbance? What makes that reading go down to more peace? For any one of you who wants to know where this fits in, this is almost third Satipatthana. What causes disturbance to the mind? What stops a disturbance? And you're putting your awareness on peace, peace of mind. You don't think peace, you experience peace. And if those of you who like to watch your breathing, just watch your breath, experiencing it, but don't sacrifice peace. And be kind to this moment, opening the door of your heart to whatever you're experiencing right now. And experiencing it. Don't think about it. Go deeper inside in the thoughts, to the silence which exists in the present moment. Just here, relaxing, making no plans, making no judgments, grant yourself these moments of peace. You deserve them. How do you feel now? What's it like in your mind, your emotional world? How much peace can you feel? And how relaxed is your body? And how joyful does it feel? The time is up now. Instead of ringing the gong, I just ask you to slowly open your eyes. And come out from your meditation. And smile. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Welcome to this session of sharing. It's been a long while since I've been able to do a class or sharing face-to-face with those who are in the Dharma, learning the Dharma. So I really miss it because I love the interaction between participants and myself. But well, it is what it is. Hope that this, is going to blow over soon, and then we can see each other again. All right. So meantime, today I'm going to do a sharing with you, and I'm going to use some slides. So I'm going to show you some slides, and I'll start sharing the screen now. Okay. So I hope you can see the slides. Okay, yeah, okay, great. So the topic for today is shades of anger, right? So I guess the topic on anger is something that we probably quite close to our hearts because we see that pretty often. And the shades of anger, meaning that we're going to talk a bit about the different kinds of angers, especially in ourselves. So the different tones of anger, the different aspects of anger, the different dimensions of anger. So we're going to be quite angry today that we're going to actually know a bit more about anger in ourselves, okay? So as I was preparing for this sharing presentation, as in any presentation, you usually start with an introduction, right? And then it sort of dawned on me that, well, actually, anger needs no introduction at all, right? If we observe, you see, if you look at children, right, babies, toddler, basically we don't have to teach them to be angry. Once they're hungry, they're upset, they start screaming and all that, right? And of course, it's not just in children. We see a lot of anger in adults. I'm sure you probably can identify with that. And it's very easy to spot anger in other people. So today we want to sort of turn inward a little bit to see how we can spot anger in ourselves. All right, and learn to work with it and learn to deal with it. Okay. So I remember reading this book by Bhikkhu Bodhi, And the name of the book is in the Dharma, in the Buddha's words. I believe some of you have read it. And the very first chapter in this book is about our human conditions. So Bhikkhu Bodhi talks about human conditions. And he uses the phrase, a world in turmoil, right? That left really quite a deep impression on me. And that, I think, is a very appropriate way to describe our human conditions. And well, especially now, I think we can really identify with it. But it's not just the external conditions. It's actually more about our internal conditions, our internal struggles, our sadness, our happiness, our turmoil within ourselves, right? It's just like a ship. Most of us, the way we function is just like a ship on very choppy seas, right? And we just allow, basically, the ship will just allow the choppy seas to move it around with the current, with the wind, and all that. And it's the same for us. Okay? We usually would, be led by the external conditions that we are in. And then, with that comes our emotions, and the turmoil that happens in us. So it's really, our internal world is in the turmoil. Okay. Sometimes I ask participants to sort of think about, when is the last time you remember being very peaceful, happy, at ease, And usually that question will sort of draw a blank from participants, because we hardly feel really at ease and really undisturbed. Okay. And that is because, we have all the portions, right, for all the afflictions that we have within ourselves. And those of us who have been listening to the Dharma, I'm sure you're not unfamiliar with this, right? These are the 3 evil roots. I would call them the basic ingredients, right, that causes all our affliction, on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And so all our unrest, our, instability, all the conflict within ourselves, feelings and all that, is generated by greed, anger, and delusion. And the Buddha calls this, the 3 evil roots. So all our affliction stems from these 3, basic ingredients that moves us around in turmoil. Okay. Interestingly, we always talk about, being free, right? We want freedom. Okay. In the Dharma, we say we practice so that we can be free, right? And what are we trying to free ourselves from? These 3 basic ingredients, these 3 basic roots, it's an important area that we're trying to free ourselves from. Okay, greed, anger, delusion. But I think you will probably agree with me that it is not easy, right? Among the 3 ingredients, though, among the 3 evil roots, though, delusion is probably one of the most difficult, because it is subtle. It's very hard to grasp. It's very hard to even sort of pinpoint and put our finger to, right? Greed is probably a little bit easier, but again, it perpetuates, especially with our survival. So that left anger, all right? And actually, among the 3, anger is probably the most observable, something that we can feel, something that we can see. Okay, and in fact, in one of the sutta, it says the anger is actually, if we are able to pin it down, it is quick to fade, right? It is quick to actually be able to be managed. So I hope this sharing today give us some pointers as to how we can better look at our own anger and manage and work with it. Okay. So first of all, in order to manage anger, we have to say hello to anger. All right. So everybody, just say hello to anger. Okay. It's the important aspect of it, because if we do not know anger and we do not recognize it, then we can't deal with it. Right? So when is the last time that you remember that you were angry? I see, some of the sisters here, brothers, participants here were like, I can't really remember. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ask that question again later. Okay. I think we can't remember because we usually associate anger with aggression, right? So when you say someone is angry, you think that person will be aggressive, maybe yelling at somebody, maybe, banging the door, kicking a can down the streets, and that's anger. Okay. Yes, there's anger, but there's only one aspect of anger, right? Anger comes in all shapes and sizes. And there are many different aspects of anger that, we may not be so attuned to. So let's see the different dimensions of anger. Okay. The first dimension of anger is the dimension of intensity. How strong the anger is. Some anger can be pretty strong, all right? And when it's strong, is of course, it's like an outrage. And we read about this sometimes in the newspapers, on the streets or in a drinking holes, people get into a fight, right? And those are display of an outrage, correct? So the intensity of it is very strong, okay? However, more often than not, our anger could be quite mild, all right? So for example, impatience, okay? If our parents, a bit lost, say the same things like 3 times, then we start to like, yeah. So that constitute a little bit of anger, very mild, okay. So I experienced this just a few days ago. I was actually preparing for another sharing session, all right, that requires me to cut video clips. Okay, and it's the first time I'm doing it using a software that I'm totally new to. So you could imagine I struggle with it. And cutting video clips, if some of you have the experience, you need to be very, very precise, right? So the moment that you're going to start the video and the moment you're going to end the video, that 2 moments has to be exactly, okay? And because I'm very new to the software, I'm very clumsy. Now, every time I want to cut the start, it somehow just, start too late or start too early, and the same with ending it, right? And I have 6 clips to cut, So as I try the first few times, I already begin to realize that I'm getting a little bit impatient. Okay, I'm like, again, and then I just try again and again. And what happened is, it was approaching noon. So it was getting very hot, And y'all know, right? These few days, the weather is really hot. So I could feel even my physical temperature, rising, right? And the impatience of progress into an irritation. So I could feel myself actually moving the mouse, in a quicker way and a more impatient way, all right? And on the 3rd clip, unfortunately, I cut it wrongly. And then a 5 minutes clip became like a 1 hour clip, and I didn't realize. So when I uploaded, it took like 45 minutes. And after 45 minutes, I realized my mistake. Okay. And that's where, I got into frustration. Okay. So can you see that progression? With every external thing changing, condition changing, I just progressed from a mild to a stronger kind of anger. I was at that moment, I sat back, and then I have a sip of water, and I ask myself, look, I'm doing, preparing for a sharing session, right, in the Dharma, and that's meaningful work. I really shouldn't let this frustration overwhelm me. And that's why I cool down, okay? And slowly I move down the scale. Okay, all right, especially with some cold ice water, I move down the scale. Okay, all right. So we just from this little experience that I have, I realized that intensity of anger, it can move up or it can move down. All right, depending on external conditions, right? And also internally, whether we are able to sort of capture our sensation, our emotions in a more timely manner. So it's a combination of external and internal conditions. Okay, I'm just glad that my computer didn't like crash on me, because I think that may just send me to the outreach. I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is the dimension of intensity. Okay, now the other dimension is the short and long. Okay, I think some of you may have met people who could be very bad-tempered, but their hot temperedness may not last very long. I have an experience with my brother. One of my brother is he's very hot-tempered, very very quick to lose his temper. Okay, and so as teenagers, my other brothers and sisters all have it from him. Right? But one thing that I observe about him, he can be angry at this moment. 20 minutes later, he could just come and talk to us as if nothing has happened. So he's very quick-tempered, but he's also very quick to just let go, and he doesn't sort of cling on to him. All right. However, not everyone is like that. People who are angry or upset sometimes keep it. All right. And then it becomes a grudge. Slowly, right? Or worse, it may develop into some kind of touchiness. All right. And in the long term, it may become even some kind of bitterness. Okay. I want to relate a true incident. There are these two brothers, okay? They got into a disagreement and probably a quarrel when they were in their 40s and 50s, okay? Now, after a series of quarrels and disagreement, they sort of stopped getting in touch with each other. So stopped seeing each other, two brothers, huh? Okay. What happened was the younger brother, when he reaches the age of about 75, okay, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, okay, and he knows his days are numbered. So he told his children that he would, before he passed away, he would really like to see, his elder brother again. All right. Hopefully, I think he's trying to sort of reconcile. Okay, at least maybe not verbally, but at least non-verbally reconcile with him. So eventually they found his elder brother. Brought him to the hospital. At this point, his elder brother has dementia. Okay, so he came, of course, he listened to him because he can't even remember what has happened between them. Okay. And this is a true incident. It was an incident. It was, this elder brother is my friend's father. So when my friend relate this to us, it's a pretty sad incident. But it also goes to show that, when we get into disagreement and we're angry with somebody, it can drag very, very long. All right. It's over 20, 30 years, all right, of bitterness. Okay. So this is another aspect of anger, right? Now, the third aspect of anger is more a direction, whether the anger is directed outwards or it is sort of like hidden, quiet. Okay. So some of the outward kind of anger could be, condemning people, complain, which Singaporeans are usually very good at, okay, being spiteful, so it's a very outward kind of expression of the emotions, okay. It can also be pretty silent, taking the form of resentment, all right, and some hatred. Prejudice. Prejudice is actually not easy to recognize, but it is a form of anger. Okay, and prejudice could lead to discrimination, right? Soreness with that person or disappointment. Okay. In my early career, I used to be in customer service, in the customer service industry. And, we always say that, if customers complain, all right, there is still a chance to save this customer, because we could actually take the opportunity to do a service recovery, and try to win the customer over. However, if the customer chooses to be silent, all right, meaning that they are not even giving us an opportunity to correct what is wrong. All right. So this, basically denying us any attempt to make good. Okay. So anger, therefore, can actually be an outward expression, or it could be something that is kept inside, all right, and very silent. Those of us who are parents, I think we need to take note, because children has a tendency to be very silent in their anger. Okay. I don't know about children nowadays, but but it stems from the fact that children are less in control and less powerful than adults and parents. So sometimes they choose to not voice out, or not, not complain or not talk about it, because they feel that they are powerless, right? They feel that the parents has a stronger influence and control over the situation. And if these are not addressed, sometimes, can lead to a lot of teenage problems, right? So, be sensitive to spot any kind of anger with younger children. All right, and give them an avenue to express. Okay, so this aspect or this dimension of anger is about whether inward or outwards. Okay, now the other aspect of anger, and another dimension of anger, is whether it's hot or cold. Okay? So anger also has a temperature to it. So hot, of course, is like fuming hot, right? So like this guy, he says, "Do not roast marshmallow on my head." He's so hot that people could sort of barbecue marshmallow. Right? So some people, when they're angry, you can see that they would really fume up, right? But there's also another kind of anger. Okay. I'm sure you probably have the experience when we're angry with somebody, we basically just ignore that person. right? That's even not. I think nowadays, if you're a Buddhist, you usually won't do that. But when we're young, we probably have done that before, right? You're angry with a classmate and just ignore that person. It's a kind of cold anger. Okay. Those of you who are husbands or you're a boyfriend of somebody, you probably is very afraid when your wife turns icy, right? You would rather she talk about it, right? And lose her temper. But if she says, "Yeah, I'm fine," and something could be difficult, all right, difficult to handle. So this aspect or this dimension of anger is a temperature. It's hot or cold. So you can see that anger takes on many different dimensions, right? Whether it's intensity, the duration, the length of it, the direction, whether it's inward, outwards, or the temperature, hot or cold. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to ask the same question. Have you been angry recently? Now that you know anger a little bit more, you expanded, the description of anger, expanded the meaning of anger, taking a broader perspective of anger. You look at all these words, right? Chances are, at least some of us, recently have, been a little bit angry. Yeah. Okay. Now it's important to know the forms and manifestation of anger. Because otherwise we think that, oh, yeah, what? I'm never angry, I'm okay, right? But actually anger can come in very, very subtle form. Okay. So as we practice, we cut out the very coarse kind of anger. The kind of bang table, bang door, that kind of anger, we push it out already. Then we have to start working with the more subtle kind of angers. Okay, all right. Now, as if all these dimensions are not enough, there is one type of anger that is very, very popular these days. And it's called righteous anger. This is very popular. It's very, I'll use the word popular. It's not very right term to use, but it's very common. We see it almost everywhere, especially with, the social media. It becomes a platform for expressing such righteous anger, right? So what's righteous anger? Righteous anger is, getting angry, but you're right. So you see this little red man here. He has a halo, on his head. He's angry, but he's right to be angry. Okay. And many of this we see on social media. And just with the COVID-19 situation, there's always a lot of posts on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and all that, about people not obeying the rules, for example, people not wearing the mask, or even when we go out, we see that quite often. I don't know about you, I do spot a few people, individuals, not obeying, the rules. And then we like, what are these people doing? Everyone is working so hard to contain the situation. They're really not playing their part, right? And then we get a bit angry and frustrated. Okay. So my question to all of us, so is righteous anger really right? Is it right to be angry over such situation? So as we explore this question, maybe we ask a couple more questions and dig a bit deeper in. If we get angry righteously, okay, who does it help? Does it help someone else? The person who made the mistake? Does it? Probably not. Yeah. So who does it harm? Sisters and brothers, it harms ourselves. Okay? Because every type of anger that we express, either verbally, bodily, or just mentally, it's just thinking about it. Yeah, this guy, why he like that? Just thinking about it, it harms ourselves. So anger is just, it's because it's not wholesome, right? It's not skillful. So it burns off the virtues, the merits that that we have created. It brings a very unwholesome kind of thinking, all right, of thoughts in us. Okay, so anger is like a hot coal, okay, burning hot coal. Before you can hurt anybody else, all right, by holding it up to try to push it to somebody, you already hurt yourself. So always remember that anger, may or may not hurt others, but anger will always hurt ourselves. So really not worth it, right? Those of you who are very good in investment, right? You haven't invested already, you lost money, correct? With anger. So it's really, really not worth it. Okay. I mentioned social media just now, right? Righteous anger is seen, almost everywhere in social media. Sometimes I almost feel that the remarks are so cruel and so mean. Okay, and the worst thing is that it generates more anger among people who reads it. Okay, sometimes you read something and say, oh, okay, yeah, this guy not very correct. Then you continue to read. Wow, so many, mean comments and angry words. And then suddenly you feel that, yeah, really, he's really not correct. Yeah, and it sort of just spreads, this anger to everybody. And sometimes when I read the social media, I thought, in the past, in ancient times, when people have some wrongdoings, they could be stoned to death, right? Right? And very, very cruel. And in modern times, people are almost like stoned to death, on the social media. Because some of the comments are really angry and very, very mean. It's very detrimental. So I urge all of us, the next time before you put an angry comment on social media, think again. Who does it hurt? Okay? I know sometimes we just do it because, so you're so used to it already. And then without much thinking, you just write something. But let's, treat it as a practice. Okay? And, tell ourselves, don't put any mean words or angry words in the social media as much as we can. So of course, sometimes people may not do the right thing, okay? But how about, we uphold what is right and appropriate without being angry? We can still, contribute and, try to correct what is wrong by doing the appropriate thing. Okay, if you need to, you may have to report it to the police, get the authorities to deal with it, or you yourself, try to help the victim in whatever ways. But there's really no need, or at least we try not to be angry about the situation. Okay. So now that we know anger a little bit better, okay, it's time to make friends with anger, right? And the first thing to do to make friends, if you meet someone new, make a friend, first of all, we already said hello, and the next one is we have to recognize anger. Okay, so I hope today, as we go through the different dimensions of anger, the different types of anger, we can have a better whole, all right, and be more sensitive to our of our emotions. Be more sensitive to our emotions. When a certain emotion comes out, we ask ourselves, hey, maybe that's anger. Okay. Actually, just 5 minutes before the start of the presentation, I was thinking jealousy is also a kind of anger. Yeah, so the next presentation, I'll add this in. Okay, so recognize anger, know how they look like, how they feel like, what they do to our thoughts, our actions. Okay, especially how it feels. Okay, how it feels. That's a very, very important part of managing anger. So first of all, recognize anger. Okay, know how it feels. Okay, and once you know how it feels, be gentle, care for anger. A lot of people would say, must not be angry, cannot be angry, right? I must suppress the anger, actually very angry inside, but pretend to look like, yeah, okay, that's probably not the way to deal with anger. Okay, maybe for that moment it's okay, but eventually you have to deal with it. You have to deal with that feeling. Okay, I don't know whether you would agree with me. Sometimes we are not just angry with the other person or the situation. We are also angry with ourselves for being angry or being upset. Right? This moment you're frustrated at the situation, but the next moment is, yeah, why am I like that? I've been Buddhist so many years. Why am I still behaving like that? Okay. And that adds on and compound on the anger. All right. So it's okay. It's okay. I think we are all human beings. We're all just practicing. Allow ourselves, allow that emotion. Just identify, recognize it, that it is an emotion. It has came out. All right. Say hello to it. All right. You want the tea, recognize it. All right. And don't try to fight it too hard, I think. Because once you start fighting it, you may even get angrier. Okay. The emotions may actually overwhelm us. So try to care for the anger. Recognize it. Start feeling the kindness for the anger. Generate a little bit of kindness for that person or that situation and for yourself. Okay? And if you can remember this little red man and say, hey, yeah, I see you, little red man, and care for him. Okay? I don't know whether that sounds abstract, but it does help. Kindness and anger cannot coexist, at least not for very long. Okay? Okay, so sounds easy, right? Every time you're frustrated, impatient, you are disappointed, you're upset, just calm down. Just tell yourself to calm down. Is it that easy? How many of us think, that we are going to be successful the next time? Some of us may, some of us may not. Okay, my personal experience is not that easy. Okay, I failed many times. Okay, so it's so at that moment when we are angry, we can try to calm ourselves down. We can try to care for our anger, but I think we cannot wait until we are angry. Okay. Before that, on a daily basis, we have to start cultivating. And I'd like to, mention this sutta. Anguttara Nikaya 2.12. It talks about the two powers. Okay, the first one is reflection. Okay, I think this is a very important thing to do for all of us. Okay, to always reflect. Okay, reflect on what we did, our bodily, verbal, mental conduct, whether it's wholesome, unwholesome, it's good. How does it make us feel? Do we feel proud of the action, or do we feel lousy about it? So it's always good to reflect, especially sometimes after a certain incidents that may have affected your mood somehow. You know, find somewhere, have a coffee, sit down, think about what has happened, and ask ourselves, you know, what could I do better if it happens again? Right? I'm not sure of you know, whether you have this habit. I think it's a good habit to have, to reflect on the day before we sleep. Okay, 5-10 minutes. Sit down, think about what happened today, the major things that happened. You know, how was your mood? You know, was there anyone that got you upset? Was there anything that you've done, you know, that you feel upset about yourself? Or is there something that happens that, you know, make you feel peaceful? All right, it's a very good habit, right? Reflection, because every time we reflect, okay, we strengthen the ability to review, you know, the different aspects of our life. So it's an important habit to cultivate, reflection. And the second power is developing mindfulness. Okay, I think this is something that we always talk about, right? So mindfulness is in Pali word is sati, right? Sati. Bear in mind the awareness, you know, the ability to draw inwards and observe our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, right? Instead of letting it scattered all over the place, we're able to gather it back into ourselves and, you know, do that observation. So that's developing mindfulness. Of course, you know, one of the probably best way to develop mindfulness is by meditation, right? By meditation. And, you know, but I always tell, you know, friends that, you know, there's a limit how much we can meditate every day, correct? We can sit down for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, you know, maybe 2 sessions. That is already very, very good, right? But we have 24 hours a day, right? Minus the 8 hours that we're sleeping, 16 hours, right? Other times when you're not meditating, it's also important to try to put pockets, you know, of awareness, of mindfulness in. All right. So, you know, our handphone is a very big disturbance. Okay. One of the habits that we should have is try to reduce our handphone time, our mobile time. Okay, you are sitting in the bus, sitting on the train, instead of picking up your handphone to quickly, you know, swipe your handphone, maybe you sit down for the first 5-10 minutes, just get into a quiet, you know, short relaxation or meditation, just for 5 minutes. Okay, and that helps to, you know, strengthen the mind, the muscles of mindfulness. Okay, so the two powers is important. We have to keep strengthening those muscles. We have to keep working on it so that when it comes to a situation, a time when we, you know, our emotions are about to arise, you know, we have the right mindfulness to able to capture it and know it. Okay, right? Ajahn Brahmali always says this, which I've personally benefited a lot. Okay, kindness. Okay, I think it's very, very understated in in our learning of the Dharma, because being city people, sophisticated people, we always like to find the chim things, and then learn and but actually, if we go back to kindness, and we can do kindness very, very well. Okay, I think it is the best habit that we can ever have. No matter what sensation comes out and all that, we always go back to kindness. Okay, it sounds very simple, but it's not easy to do. But if we're able to start doing it, I think it really, really makes a difference to our well-being, in how quickly we can get at ease with ourselves. By the way, I love this photograph. It's really cute. I don't know whether you can see it, right? The boy just very, very innocently wants, to be kind. Okay. Okay. So I hope, with this short sharing, that we are able to start identifying the different kinds of anger, irritation, aversion that we feel in our everyday life. Work on caring for it, work on developing mindfulness and reflection, right? So that bit by bit, with a lot of kindness, slowly, our Mr. Red Man will turn, into a gray man, right? And hopefully one day it will just disappear altogether from our life. Okay, so this is my very short presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing screen now and take any questions that you may have, or any comments.
Thank you, Sis Rachel, for the really insightful talk. Really enjoyed the talk very much. I have a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
The first question is, so what are the common triggers of anger at the workplace, and how should we go about dealing with it?
Okay, common triggers. I think bully is one of the trigger. All right. Probably, people who try to siam, do less work. All right. But when there's credit, when there's benefits, they start to, raise their hand and say, oh, yeah, I contributed in some ways. And so people who are not sincere, all right, unwilling to contribute. I think these are the common triggers, all right, or people who feel that they are not recognized. Okay, I was in human resource for a long time, all right, I deal with a lot of situations when people come in and say, hey, I feel that I'm not recognized, and that could trigger a lot of bitterness, a lot of sometimes even resentment. Okay, yeah, so I think those are. So how to deal with all this kind of anger? I think it's probably no different from what we've just discussed. Okay, first of all, recognize, right? I always tell, my colleagues in the past that, if you want to reply somebody in an angry email, all right, type the email first and then read it a few times before you hit the send button. And more often than not, after you read it for a few times, you have already cooled down, you will find that, some words are too strong. Maybe I change this. Right? So that's one of the way you have to, first of all, care for it. Yeah, care for the anger. Just be kind about it. Be objective. Be as objective as possible. Just look at the facts. Right? And sometimes we are very much, especially colleagues, because we work with colleagues over a very long period. So we may develop certain opinions about them, some perception about them. That guy, always talking, yeah. So we need to be careful about our own perception. Did we put our own prejudice into the whole situation? right? So we need to ask ourselves on that. Okay. So workplace anger management, I think is no different from all the other kind of anger management. But I think, that the prejudice part, because, it's long-term, right? Relationship, that part is something that we need to be maybe a bit more aware of.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. Another question I have here, right, is regarding like little children. Sometimes they can really make parents very angry, or like teachers when they're in a classroom that they face like 40 really naughty children. So do you have any advice for this group of people?
Okay. Okay, so teachers and parents, all right. I think dealing with children, one of the important things that we should try to understand is children don't think the same way as we do, right? So we have to, of course, I'm personally, I'm not a teacher, right? So I think teachers have gone through certain training about, the psychology of children, right? And so that, I think that is the part that would probably help a lot of teachers, especially primary school teachers, because children think very differently from us. And, we always say children are just children, right? They would be very, very direct. Actually, most of the time, they would be very direct. Yeah. So pull out, those tools that you have learned in, the psychology classes, on how to deal with children, especially teachers, right? They are trained professions. So look into a lot of this kind of materials, look deeply, especially if you have some anger, issues, and try to see how you can use those as tools to help, okay? And if you find that if you are already getting into a situation where you are easily triggered, okay, I would suggest to seek help. Yeah, I would suggest to seek help, because I could empathize with teachers, because if they are facing children day in, day out, they have to face the same kind of emotions from children every day, right? So then, teachers need to be well established themselves in knowing how to deal with the situation, and if they can't, they have to seek help. Yeah. So that's my 5 cents worth of opinion.
Thank you, sister. That's an excellent answer. Just last question before I let Eileen ask her questions. So how about like trying to transcend anger through meditation? Because I think it will be quite difficult to sit in meditation when one is, still feeling very angry.
Yes. So don't try to meditate. I'm speaking from my personal experience. I'm just a very beginner in terms of meditation. There's no need to try to meditate when you're angry. Okay, you may want just to close your eyes and be just cool down and calm down. But I think it's very difficult to get into any deep meditation or peaceful meditation. Yeah. So personally, if I feel that I'm disturbed in some ways, either angry or something has affected me, instead of going straight into sitting meditation, I may do some walking meditation first, right? Because anger is very coarse, it's very coarse. And when you sit down and try to be very subtle with your mind, it just doesn't gel, right? So with a very coarse emotion, physically do something that matches the emotion. Because when you start walking is more, is more action, it's more physical movement. Then it helps you to at least, match the emotion and allow the emotion to slowly, at least get lesser, all right, to reduce the intensity. And when you are ready, you find that you have more kindness, then that's where you can start to sit down and meditate.
Yes, that's very good advice as well. I guess some of us have tried like meditating while we are angry and it really doesn't work. I think it's better to do something else first, like to wait for the anger
Yeah,
to cool off.
yeah. Or even just reciting the name of Buddha.
Oh yes. Mm.
Yeah, because there is something that you do, right? It's not, it's less subtle.
Mm. Thank you, sister.
Thank
Sis,
you.
you want to
Thank
ask?
Yes, someone sent in. I've heard of people who have not gotten angry for a year. How do we achieve this?
I think really the practicing of mindfulness, developing mindfulness is very helpful. You know, and plus reflection, of course. Okay. So I'm a bit shy to say this, but I'm by nature I get angry quite easily. Okay. I attribute it to the fact that I grew up in a family that is more expressive, okay, to say the least. So I have also went through a period of time where I tried to address this because I think it was affecting, my relationship with my husband and also affecting myself. Okay. So, in my own experience, I think, I started with reflection. Okay, I started with reflection. Every time I lose it, after that I would think and I'll ask myself, how can I do better next time? Right? Manage it. If there's something that I feel I need to voice out, I say it in a way that it doesn't hurt the other person. I try to and resolve it. Try to resolve it. And then try to analyze the situation, whether it was really somebody's fault or was it my own prejudice. Was it me who doesn't like the situation? I'm allowing my perceptions and all that to come into play. All right. And that helps in the beginning. It helps. Okay. And eventually when I started meditation, it's quite amazing, at least in my personal experience, it's quite amazing how it has changed me. Okay. Just 2 years ago, my husband told me, he said that I have changed. Yeah. So I think that is a very good testament. And, so I, because of that experience, I'm very confident in meditation. I think it has really, really changed, changed me in terms of my temperaments. Yeah.
Thank you, Sis Rachel. Another question. Like anger and standing up for ourselves is sometimes seen as a force for change for the good. So that mean that being a Buddhist, we have to be a nice person all the time.
Yes, we must be a kind person all the time, I would say, right? But sometimes when certain facts needs to be established, certain things needs to be addressed, we still have to put our foot forward and say what is right. Yeah. But when we do that, we don't have to be angry. And we don't have to say it in a very righteous way. All right? And we don't have to put people down. We could state facts. Right? We could do it in a very firm manner without hurting another person or getting worked up and angry. And I think the benefit of not getting angry in those situations is that you tend to win the argument. You have a better chance winning the argument, right? Because if you're not angry, we are clear-headed. When you allow anger to step in, then you tend to argue in a very emotional manner. right? But we set anger aside, then we're able to think straight, factually, very objectively, and deal with the situation in a very firm manner. So my own experience in corporate at work is I sometimes have to deal with very difficult situation in human resource. And I've always tried to be firm, if I feel that the other person is really stepping stepping on the line, or he's crossed his line, I would be very firm. I'd be very firm. But I would usually not allow my emotions to come in. Because once emotions come in, once anger comes in, then I find that my judgment will be blurred. Okay, and I wouldn't be able to think in a very objective manner. Right? So you can be firm. You can put your foot forward and state what is right, but we don't have to be angry.
Thank you. Sis Chin, any question?
Thank you, Sister Rachel. I find the talk very interesting, very enlightening. We're talking about the various dimensions of anger. And I just made a comment. I like your saying that, say hello to anger. It's something, something very interesting. And you said that, be kind to anger. I think that's very good to practice. Especially I find that as a Buddhist, we are supposed to practice metta and be kind. But sometimes when we're angry, we think, why as a Buddhist, why am I so bad to be angry? You have that kind of feeling, and after that, you feel so bad about yourself. So that's what I want to say. And I think putting your words like hello to anger, be kind to anger, I think is a very good start, to reduce the anger. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Ching.
Thank you. Okay, one last question. Sister, you got any? No? Okay, there's a last question here. Like, anger is a big hindrance on the Dharma path. Like you said, one of the 3 roots, evil roots. So do we need to get rid of it completely? Otherwise, there is no hope for us.
I don't think it's that easy to get rid of it completely. As in any other, defilements. Okay, let's not try to say, I'll get rid of this defilement by next year. Right? It's like not very realistic. Not very realistic. I will always encourage, friends in the Dharma to, pick a few areas that you feel, you need to work on. Okay, and give yourself maybe a little bit of a timeline on that few priorities and work on it and review it after a certain period. Okay, same with anger. So the defilement can be any defilement. It could be anger, it could be restlessness, it could be, inattentiveness. If you feel that particular defilement affects you, affects your work, affects your relationship with people, then you pick it up from all the defilements that we have and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this 1 or 2 defilements this year or this half a year. And think of actionable things that you can do. And make it achievable and easy, right? Don't make it too difficult. I say, I'm not going to be angry for half a year. It's not easy, right? But maybe you can say that, okay, the next time I'm angry and before I say something in that hot mode, I will count to 5. And try to do it. If you can't do it the first time, never mind. You reflect and say, okay, I forgot to count to 5. Next time I will do it. Okay, all right. Something very practical and usable. Okay. The other thing that I think is important is also identify situations that has a high tendency to make you angry. Okay, so that you're more aware. The moment you see this coming, you say, okay, ready to count to 5. Right? You know what I mean? You get sensitized to it. Okay. So my suggestion on practice is always don't do too much and too deep at any one go. Bite size. Make it manageable. Okay. All right. And always remind yourself, okay, within this half a year or 2 months, I'm supposed to do this. I've got to cultivate these habits. Okay. So let me share one, one of something that I'm trying to overcome with all of you. I, like everyone else, I have this habit of just picking up the mobile phone and start, reading my Facebook, and, whenever I have nothing very much to engage me, I just pick it up. It becomes a habit. And I think it affects my meditation because I'm putting too much things into my mind. My mind is very scattered. So I think it's not very healthy. So for the next 2 months, I already say, okay, I'm going to only check my Facebook once a day. Okay, if it's too much for you, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever is manageable, right? And just try to do it for the next 2 months. And slowly correct that habit. Okay? You don't do it well, don't beat yourself, all right? Don't get angry with yourself. Reflect and think, okay, never mind. I try again. Okay? So practice whether, practice, with our defilements or, trying to get better, manage our defilements. My suggestion is always make it workable, make it manageable. So bite size. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Sis Rachel. That's a good advice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rachel. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I hope to see everyone soon and that we can have an interactive class.
Yes.
I always like to do activities and all that in class. It's more fun that way.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dharma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang me nyati nang ho tu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang ho tu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang ho tu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We hope that you have enjoyed the talk and gained many useful insights. Next week, we have our dedicated speaker, Sister Sylvia Bay, who will be giving a talk titled, Am I a Kalyana Mitta? The talk will be a live stream on Facebook at 10:30. We hope to see you there.
Imagine a house you can come into. There is no condition that you must fulfill.